Hey gang, Nate Bear here, lead technical tactician for Monument Traders Alliance and Trade of the Day. Now, before we dive into the charts, you're going to want to stay to the end of the video. If you want to be part of something that I call the Millionaires Club, then my announcement will be for you. All right, let's dive into the chart. So let me pull up my screens here. And just like we always do, I want to start by taking a quick look at the S&P. And actually, you know what I'm going to do is I've been working on this, but I'm going to delete my drawings and I'm going to do this here in the video. So the first thing I want you to notice, again, if you've been following along, is this trend line that we have been using as support. Our bullish sort of thesis from the November lows, October lows, coming in through here. We've got our bounce and hold, another bounce and hold. And then, with all the bank news this past week, we've had a breach of that trend line. So what does that actually mean for me? Well, I have had to shift from being and leaning bullish to saying, okay, things are possibly changing here. Now, one of two things is likely going to happen. We are either going to just rip up here as shorts get creamed, as money comes in, as the government say, hey, you know what? It's fine. We got your back. No worries. We'll bail everybody out, which is what they should do. Honestly, like depositors should be made whole. It's ridiculous that in this country, that there should even be a question whether or not depositors will be made whole. That's besides the point. But from a technical perspective, this is a shift. And now this may be a false signal. This may be a false signal to the downside and we pop higher. However, for me, as you know, I need a setup to trade. And when I'm looking at this, I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, that's a definite breach of the trend line on strong volume. And what we know from technical analysis is that so often previous resistance becomes support and previous support becomes resistance. So as this trend line has acted as support for 6 months, as it's broken, do we now have the opportunity to use this trend line as resistance for another move lower? That is what I am looking at. So is there anything I can do to sort of support my theory? Well, one of the things that I use, one of the tools I use all the time is Fibonacci analysis. And I'm going to measure this move down here, that low to this high. And I'm going to say this 618 is sort of my downside target. So if we do come up and we roll off that trend line, I'm looking for about 37.50 to the downside. In addition to that, if we zoom in and look at this move from this high down to this low, the retracement move, that 618 retracement takes us into about 39.75. Well, does that line up with anything? Well, yeah, it lines up perfectly with this trend line. So if the market bounces into 39.75, we've got the 618 retracement. We'll have the 55 EMA and the 21 EMA sort of all coming in, that confluence, all coming in right here around 39.75. So that for me, 39.75 is an area on the SPX where if we come into that level, I want to, number one, be very cautious with new longs. Number two, I want to consider selling either some call credit spreads, right? And I may consider getting just flat out bearish. I may just buy some straight up puts. The thing I like about that level is the risk versus reward. If I'm wrong, let's say short at 39, between 39.75 to 4,000, right? If we get short in this range, right through here, I'll stop over, say, 4,000, 401, 4010 up and through here. But the downside is a move down to 37.50. So you've got basically, 10 to 20 S&P points of risk versus 250 S&P points of potential reward. So it's a really neat level and something I want you to be aware of, okay? In addition to that, what can I really do when you've got names doing like, this? And it's really, really great for intraday trading, let me tell you. But in a format like this where I'm proposing trades and saying, hey, these are the levels that I'm watching, I've got to pick something that's got a valid setup. And like I said, there are fantastic intraday opportunities out there right now. But one that has my attention that is setting up, it's a new name, is actually TSCO, which is Tractor Supply Company. And I want to break this chart down using our TPS method. Now check this out. We've got a beautiful trend, obviously, right? This thing is really trending nicely. We've got this is a weekly chart, by the way. But we've got this really nice cup and handle type pattern on the weekly chart with a weekly squeeze. Now, the thing about this chart is that I can't really play the weekly chart, well, I mean, I've got a little bit of time for earnings. It's out in the middle of April. So I guess in theory you could. But the thing that I really like to do is I've got that weekly idea, that weekly cup and handle concept with a squeeze, which I think will lead to higher prices. And then within that, I've got a couple of things I want to show you as we zoom in. So number one, I want you to notice this shift in momentum, right? As we've talked about before, when you get that momentum shift here, it tends to lead to higher prices. Here's a momentum shift. It tends to lead to higher prices. Here's a momentum shift. It tends to lead to higher prices, right? So what do we have here, gang? A momentum shift. And that simply means these bars are shifting. We're going from red to yellow, which means the momentum is still negative, but it is turning. It is going from, -5 to -4 to -3. It's turning back up. Within that, or in addition to that, check out this 195-minute chart. So we have now building this picture, right? Building this picture. We know we have a great bullish weekly chart. We know we have a daily shift in momentum. Now we can add to that a squeeze here on the 195-minute chart. So we've got our move higher. We've got this sort of bull flag. We've got our daily momentum shift. And I think this is going to lead to a move to higher prices. So in TSCO, the options are a little bit pricey compared to what we, sort of may typically trade, but that's okay. I mean, if you think about it like this, right? If I buy 10 contracts of a $1 option, I'm risking $1,000. If I buy one $10 option, I'm risking $1,000. So bigger options don't need to be scary or like, oh, well, I can't trade it because it's too expensive. You can still allocate the same amount of risk, just position size differently, right? It's not a big deal. So for me, knowing that they have earnings in April, I think it was April 20th. Let me just double check that. Knowing that there are earnings coming up on April 20th. Yep, right there, Thursday, April 20th. I want to see if I can pick an option series that includes that earnings. So I capture that volatility. It keeps the IV, it keeps the premium in those options. And right here, we see we have an expiration April 21st. So that's perfect, right? So for me, I would probably do these basically at the money calls. They're 8 by 840. So, pick up one at 850, pick up another at 7, whatever. You can scale in, but that's what I am looking at in TSCO is the $230 calls for the April 21st expiration series, excuse me. Now, that is the chart that I like. It's not too terribly volatile. I think it's great for this type of format where I'm saying this is something I'm watching. Ideally, the entry is, we're right there. Between 224 and 228, somewhere in this little box, perfect entry, and then a look for higher prices from there. One of the things that I'll be doing a lot of in the coming weeks and months is I'll be trading shorter term charts. And this is an example, one that I wanted to show you. This is something that I traded yesterday and the type of thing that I will be doing a lot of. And this was in Meta. Now I'm gonna replay this, and I can't do anything with it now. It's just too late. But I just want to show you this as an example. This is let's see if there's a 15-minute squeeze as well. So check this out. This is what I call a stacked squeeze, where there's stacked squeezes on multiple time frames. So if I zoom out first, let me show you in Meta. Earnings winner, right? Nice move higher. As the S&P was going down, 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 Meta was also going down, but nowhere near in the same percentage range. So we have this really nice move. And then all of a sudden I start looking at this and I'm noticing like, wow, I've got this really good pattern. This bull flag. I've got a 15-minute squeeze. I had a 30-minute squeeze. I had a 60-minute squeeze. You see what I mean? A 78-minute squeeze. And it's like, holy cow, this thing, a 130-minute squeeze. This thing has compression. It's telling me it's rested on all these time frames. All we need is a little spark, a little green in the indexes, and Meta is going to take off. And you can see the results. You can see the results. Huge move this morning. It was up $10 or $11 earlier. I do think that if the market stays strong, that Meta is going to take out these highs in through here and probably test 200. So anyway, again, it's not anything that I can do something with now. I can't trade it here. I can't trade Meta up, 5, 6, 7%, 8%, whatever it is. But these are the types of setups that I'm looking for every day, where we've got a great, strong stock and it's squeezing on all these different time frames. That's the time to get in there and attack, right? So anyway, that's my take on the S&P 500. That's my take on TSCO, which is the sort of the trade that I am looking at, or the trade that I'm watching for entry. You know, and I'm also excited to announce that on Wednesday I'll be part of an upcoming event called the Minivan Millionaire Live Stream. Now, the name is a play on when I used to trade stocks and options while in a carpool surrounded by minivans. Nowadays, I surround myself with pro traders, and I'm inviting you to be in my elite community. Unlike YouTube, where I only reveal the setups, I'll show you my best trade parameters with the hopes of maximum profit potential. And I'll be trading right there in front of you, putting my own money on the line with each and every trade. Not only that, but you will have the chance to join my millionaire club, an experience like no other in the publishing world. Rather than celebrating the so-called tech moguls or banking executives who've already made their fortunes, you're invited to watch as I strive to hit my goal of turning $37,000 into $1 million yet again. The last time I made that accomplishment, it took just 3 years to reach that milestone. Now, if you're looking for ideas on how to win in these volatile markets, especially with the news surrounding the recent bank failures, I've got plenty of pro trader strategies to win in a market just like this. You can sign up for the live stream by clicking the link below. I hope to see you there. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.